stripe. Soundstripe.
Welcome into Lock and Live College Football Week 9 with Uncle Phil and Smooth Andy. Thanks everyone for joining us this Saturday morning. Uncle Phil, Smooth Andy, how you guys doing this morning?
Good, man. It's great to have a Saturday. It's Week 9 in NCAA season. We've got only 5 more weeks of regular season college football left. Countdown's begun, whether we like it or not. What a great time of year, starting to really know the teams well. Excited about this Saturday. I'm looking forward to it. I certainly feel a lot better about the lines this week than last week. Smooth Andy, how are you feeling about today?
Pretty good, actually. Got the only thing that concerns me is I've actually got too many plays today. So, but I'm gonna throw them all out on Twitter and make sure everybody sees them. But it's a long card today.
Yeah, same for me. I had 14 initial picks on my big board. Got the notebook down to 8 picks that I really like a lot. As always, we'll give out 2 picks here and have the bonus pick in the notebook, but as well as the 5 other picks, or 6 other picks there. So anyway, but yeah, excited about today. Looking forward to today, and man, I love college football, and I am just trying to drink in every week because soon it would be gone.
Most definitely. Well, let's have a weekend. It starts today. Looking forward to hearing both of y'all's picks. Uncle Phil, where are you heading first?
Yeah, glad you asked. We're headed to Eugene, Oregon today, where Illinois comes calling. Look, I like Illinois' team. They're scrappy. They're fun to watch. Oregon's a different level team. It's probably why the line is so big today. Autzen Stadium is truly a place to go and listen. I mean, it is one of the loudest places in the entire nation. Just massive, especially for teams that haven't been there before. This will be a big game for them. I kind of concerned that, even though Michigan's not Michigan, Illinois or Oregon is going to Michigan next week. And so there may be some of that excitement for college kids. They're like, hey, we're going to Ann Arbor next week. So I wonder how they're going to stay engaged at the end. But I expect them to come from the beginning, and I'm taking Oregon minus 11.5 as my first best bet today. Second best bet is I'm going to Kyle Field, where LSU and Texas A&M, oddly enough, are the only 2 undefeated SEC teams in SEC play. Both of them suffered losses the very first game, but have been, kind of getting things together since then. I really thought it purely comes down to me about trust and which team do I trust. And Connor Wegman, I thought I trusted him after Missouri. Looked like he had kind of ride the ship and became the old Connor Wegman of last year. But unfortunately, against Mississippi State, he regressed. He looked really bad. Just didn't look like the same guy. Nussmeier, on the other hand, for quarterback for LSU, seems to be on a steady incline and ascent, as well as LSU's team. I really like their offensive line, their defensive line as the most formidable pass rush in the SEC. Texas A&M has that as well, but I like LSU. Give me LSU +1 tonight. So close, you could probably also bet them on the money line. I just took +1 just to because that's what the line is. But if you take the money line, I wouldn't be mad at you.
No doubt. Should be a great game. Looking forward to that one. Happy to see you have action on it. Smooth Andy, how about you? Where are you heading first?
Well, I've got I've got 14 today for Twitter. So it's probably going to be a two tweet kind of day when it comes to giving the list of the games. But since I have so many that are like 3-dog rated and lower, I've got 2 that are above that. So I've got 2 5-dog ones that I'm going to just give now. And I'm just going to not give the third one now. It's not like you won't get it on Twitter anyway. So I'll just do the top 2. And the first one I have is I have Texas at Vanderbilt. I think Vanderbilt made their name for themselves by beating Alabama, and they're certainly frisky by Vanderbilt standards this year. Texas, of course, coming off the loss last week to Georgia, where they got embarrassed. I just think there's a lot of money, a lot of bets on Vandy today. I just think they're viewed as a giant killer, and Texas is viewed as having gotten their butts kicked last week, which they did. But teams tend to bounce back after a loss like that if you're in a top 10 team, and Texas is. So I've got them today, and the second game I have is similar to you, Uncle Phil. I've got Oregon today against Illinois, like all the reasons you gave. Also, everybody's on Illinois. I think, again, it's a thing where they view Illinois as a frisky dog that only they've noticed, and that they're going to go into Oregon and knock around Oregon today. I just think the athletes are going to come to the surface, and Oregon will be winning by more than the point spread. So I'll cross my fingers in the first half for you, and then you can cross them in the second half for me.
No doubt. Always cheering you on. Smooth Andy, can't wait to see your 14. I mean, that's a massive card. Sometimes the stars align. I know yours is strictly a technical analysis thing for those tuning in. Obviously we've got quite a lot of viewers on TikTok this morning that are tuning in that may not have heard you before. Yours is more of a technical analysis. How would you describe your approach to those who haven't heard you before?
Well, I just track a bunch of metrics. One would be, unpopular home favorites, which is a pretty good one to track, where a team, if people see a team and they're home favorite, and so they technically are, according to Vegas, the better team, but they have a low opinion of that team for some reason because they're down on them, like Alabama maybe this year, something like that, then they tend to, the public will all kind of go against them all at the same time, thinking they're the only ones who have identified that this team isn't so great. So this is just one example, but I do a lot of things like that, and I add them up at the end, and whatever sides end up with an abundance of those little flags going off. They make my card.
Yeah, nice, love it. Well, it's been successful for you for a long time now, so we're excited to see your card today. The full card again. 14 picks will be at Smooth Andy 5 only on X this morning. So go there and follow Smooth Andy if you don't already, and check out his picks.
And I'm reporting from my parents' house. It's not the basement, the stereotypical nerd thing, but I am in the guest room in Florida here. My mom's 80th birthday's this weekend, but that's why I'm laying face down on a bed reporting to you here.
Well, we love your dedication to football and to Lock and Live, so we appreciate you making the effort, and wish your mom happy 80th for us.
Will do.
Absolutely. Well, let's get to some questions. I know we've got tons of them coming in. I'm ready to hammer through these. What do you guys think? Love the question and answer section of this show. It's always the best.
Yep.
Let's start on TikTok. We're going to do a TikTok question from Coy Hubbard. It says, Unc, what do we think of Indiana? -5.
Man, I love Indiana. I'm just not sure I trust them with a backup quarterback. I thought the backup quarterback came in last week and did serviceable. I wonder if the public, at large, I know a lot of people here probably listening are attuned to it that Indiana's starting quarterback hurt his thumb and had surgery. I think he's supposed to be back next week, or could be back as soon as next week, but is out this week. So it's really more the unknown for me about him, although he did come in and play a little bit last week, looked good in some mop-up duty, but I don't trust it enough to watch. I just don't have a feel for it, so I'm going to stay off of it.
I'm actually on it today. You and I talked earlier in the week, and we talked about how I told you how much Washington bets were coming in. Iowa bets, Indiana bets were coming in. Pardon me. And that coupled with a couple other triggers, I ended up with three triggers on Washington today. So I'll be on them. I don't like going against Kurt Cignetti. I really think he's obviously showing himself to be an excellent coach. He was at James Madison before.
Yeah.
He was hired by Indiana in this offseason, and now they're suddenly immediately very good. But to your point, the starting quarterback's out. Everybody is on Indiana. So to your point again, I'm not 100% sure that all those bets are making the bet aware that they're not betting on the same Indiana team that started last game. So anyway, you'll see it on my card, and cross my fingers. I hate going against a really good coach, but that's what it told me to do. So.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that's the right thing. I mean, teams like Army and Navy and Indiana have become public favorites. They won the public a ton of money this year. Once they kind of figured out early on that those teams were hitting and covering each week, people have won money, and it's kind of like the public has come back on those teams no matter what. So I don't know. Stay away game for me. Smooth Andy's got Washington. I think that's probably the right side, even though I'm staying away.
Sweet. Well, let's get to the next question. And it's been a question asked by like 10 people from YouTube, from Twitter, from TikTok. They all want to know Navy, Notre Dame. Where do you guys stand on that one?
Smooth Andy, what do you got?
Well, I should preface this by saying that I'm Catholic, and I was always raised that I was supposed to like Notre Dame, and everybody, when they found out I was Catholic, usually the first thing out of their mouth was, "Oh, then you must love Notre Dame." So I hate Notre Dame. I hate them. I've hated them all my life. I root against them. I never want them to win anything.
Yeah.
But I have a bet on them today. So my spreadsheets told me to do it, so I'm doing it.
Yeah. I mean, how often do you get a public dog?
Yeah.
Navy, again, it's what we talked about. Tons of money coming in on Navy. I think Navy's only played one team with a winning record so far this year, and that was Memphis. Memphis scored a lot of points. Obviously, Navy pulled away and won big in the end. I think we were sitting in the sports book at that time, made even live bet on that, and did well. But I think Navy's very public this week. It's very you see the analysts, everybody's taking Navy. I feel like Notre Dame's a step up in class. If I were playing it, I would have taken Navy, or I would have taken Notre Dame as well in the game. But it's just a lot of points, so I abstain. But I'll certainly be rooting for you, Smooth Andy. I do think the one that was in my big board is I thought that both teams would probably score some points. I thought the over was in my big board. I thought that I trimmed that one. I didn't end up playing it, but I would have taken the over in that game as one of my plays. But didn't make my final 8. But that's the way I was leaning in that direction. Great question, so I knew we'd get those.
Yeah,
today.
that was a fun question. Should be a great game. I'm looking forward to it. We got a comment from YouTube from G Paras. He says he hates the LSU play. No offense, Uncle Phil. I think A&M's defense is far superior, even though it didn't look that way. So, first challenge of the year. How do you respond?
Yeah, no, man. I look. He's been around for a while. He always makes good plays. I respect his plays, but LSU's defensive line is the best defensive line in the SEC. I think their offensive line has come around, and it really comes down to who I trust to score points. And after Connor Wegman regressed last week, it just didn't show me. You look. A&M's usually a lock, especially at night at Kyle Field. That hasn't quite been the case this year, especially with the first game of the year against Notre Dame. Kind of soured a little bit on A&M since then. I am also I not a big fan of Mike Elko. Just doesn't seem like a great coach to me at times. But I'm not convinced that Brian Kelly's a great coach either at times. There's times I feel like he's very overrated as well. So So I kind of threw, since I don't like the coaches that well, I went down to quarterback, the next most important thing to me, and I trust Nussmeier over Wegman, and that's why I went that way. But best of luck to you. But I really like LSU tonight.
Love it. Let's keep it rolling. Let's see here. We got gentlemen from Twitter. What do you think about Florida State, Miami? It's kind of an interesting game. Love to hear your thoughts personally on that.
Smooth Andy, you're born and bred in the ACC. Please tell me you're not on this game.
Yeah, I'm on it.
Oh, no.
Yeah, Florida State. I don't like it one bit. They're 1-6.
Yeah.
I guess, it's never as easy as just saying Miami's way better, Florida State sucks, and therefore Miami's going to cover. I think it's a 21 or 21.5 point spread. It's a rivalry game. I don't like it one bit, but I'd make bets all the time when my spreadsheet says do it, and my gut says, oh God, how could you bet on Florida State? They've quit. We'll see. I'm hoping I'm going to turn on the game and see them out there playing their guts out, and then I'll know that I'm on the right side. But if they just get walked over, I wouldn't be shocked. So feel free to take that one with a grain of salt, but I'm on them already. So
your algorithm and spreadsheet told you to take the Rams this past Thursday night when there was absolutely no reason to, except 85% of the public was on Minnesota. And that one cashed. So
yeah, well, I felt better about that pick than I do Florida State. I'll put it.
Yeah, I was going to say I was trying to equate the two, and then my mind I was like, there's really no equating it. I'm not playing it. If I did, I'd probably go the other side because I think Miami just absolutely just lays the wood to Florida State today, and I don't think that they let off the gas. I just think it's kind of that way. I think how they kind of clowned Florida earlier in the year, I think they have the opportunity to do the exact same thing today, and I think they might.
Maybe they'll have a big brawl and everybody will get kicked out of the game, and it'll be called a forfeit for both sides, and I'll cover.
Yeah,
that might be a way to do it.
Yeah.
Alrighty, yeah, that we'll see what happens in that one. I'm wishing you luck, Andy. Next up, we'll go to a question from TikTok. Uncle Phil, Smooth Andy, how about Wisconsin?
Yeah, what do you think about that? Smooth Andy, what do you think about that game?
Well, that one also is not often or as you might suspect, because I have so many picks anyway, that one made my card. It's only a 2-star one. But I've got them. I know one of the reasons is there's a look-ahead spot because Penn State plays Ohio State next week. So I ended up on both Wisconsin and I think it's Nebraska with Ohio State today. That's the big one. There might have been there's another trigger in there somewhere. I just can't recall what it was, but it's a 2-star bet for me. But I'm on Wisconsin, and I don't feel particularly comfortable with that either. But I usually don't when I'm on dogs. So.
Well, I mean, it's a night game in Camp Randall, so I can understand that. I mean, I certainly see where that could happen. Penn State is this really interesting team, and the fact that look, they've had some distractions this week. They've had a couple of players that are accused of raping a girl, and so that could be a little bit of a distraction. But Penn State as a whole, they are great against everybody except for Michigan and Ohio State, at least under James Franklin. And so, if I had to play it, I probably would take the other side. But again, I'm not playing it, and Smooth Andy, his algorithm saying take Wisconsin. So I certainly trust his algorithm over my lean, but my lean certainly Penn State.
Well, my lean is Penn State too, but I mean this is where I am. I'm on the spreadsheet and I'm going to stick with it. It's only 6 points too, which actually that's a bit encouraging in a little way,
right?
Because if it was 10.5, 14, it might seem better, like it's priced right. But when you look at 6 points for Penn State on the road against a mediocre Wisconsin team, you think, oh, they're going to be easy, and that's what I'm hoping is the opposite of what happens.
Yeah, I agree.
Definitely. Well, let's keep it rolling, man. There's so many great questions. We're going to try to get to as many of them as possible. We got a few questions across the social medias on the Ole Miss game. Where do you guys stand on that one?
Smooth Andy, any thoughts on that game? Ole Miss OU?
I don't think it didn't make my card, but it did show up in a lean. Wait, is Ole Miss who again?
OU, Oklahoma.
Yeah, I guess it didn't even show up as a lean. I don't see that anywhere. Yeah, that one just didn't pop.
Yeah, it's a noon Eastern game today at Ole Miss. Should be an interesting game. I think that OU is a very popular kind of quasi-sharp pick today to take OU. That number has come down, which means obviously the money is coming in on OU. I would tend to probably fade that. I know that OU fired their offensive coordinator, got a new person in place. I just don't think they can fix that offense in 1 week. This kind of feels like that LSU, or not LSU, but Ole Miss will. I think they'd probably put it on OU today. So that'd be my lean. I almost took Ole Miss in my notebook. I didn't do it, but be my lean. But I understand why some people will come in, and certainly a lot of money has come in on OU. And dogs in the SEC this year are 22-9 coming in today. So if you took straight dogs every week in the SEC, I wouldn't blame you, because this year it's paid off.
Definitely. Well, let's go next to Andrew from Dallas. Good to see you, Andrew. He says, Will Rogers from Washington is going to have pressure in his face all morning with that Indiana D-line. I know you guys touched on that game. Do you have any thoughts on that comment about Indiana's D-line?
Well, Andrew's got relatives up there in Indiana, and I know that he's pretty close to that, or at least stays pretty close to information about that program. So wouldn't be surprised. Indiana's a good team this year. Like Smooth Andy said, we're big fans of Signetti. We think he's done just an outstanding job this year. Certainly not luck. I mean, if you want to know how good he is, just ask him. He's pretty. He loves him.
Just Google him, right?
Yeah. But I mean, look, he backs it up, right? So, I like him. I like his team. They're well coached. Wouldn't be surprised at all. Smooth Andy, any comments on that?
Agree with everything you said. I would say this though. I forget who Washington hired to replace DeBoer. Do you remember who it was? I feel like they haven't missed much of a beat without DeBoer. I don't think there's been a net not like Bama has, So I think this Washington team's a little frisky. I think everybody kind of gave up on them when they lost their head coach. Going into this year, everybody just decided they just weren't any good anymore. Not that they were a powerhouse, but they've always been very relevant.
Oh yeah,
like Oregon in the playoff.
It's Jedfish. Yeah.
Thank you.
Of course.
I think he's doing a nice job. I've seen, maybe I've just seen some better days for them or whatever, but they seem to have not missed a beat. They're still a very competitive team. So I don't mind this at all that I ended up on Washington. And to your point, it's possible some people don't know the Indiana quarterback is hurt. And I really think Indiana is a really good team, but sooner or later they're not going to be able to cover a game because the lines are going to keep adjusting and eventually it's going to happen. And I'm hoping it's this week.
Yeah, we'll see. Look, man, I love Washington. They covered for me earlier this year against Michigan, so big fan. Should be a fun game today. One of the more under the radar games that I think is going to be a fun game today.
Definitely.
Yeah, agree.
All right, let's take two more questions here. We got Apex on YouTube. He says BYU versus UCF. Question mark.
That I've got funny comment on that, but Smooth Andy, what do you think?
Yeah, I've got UCF today. I don't recall why. Probably a very public team, BYU this week. I think that's probably at least part of it. Usually is when I'm making picks that end up with three triggers. In fact, it is. BYU is getting 71 and 67% of the bets at the two books that I was able to get data for today. That's one trigger, but there's a bunch of others. So I'm going to be on them. This is not a game where I feel like I know both teams. I like BYU, and I really like their coach. Was it Kalani Sitake, I think his name is? Or Halani Sitake? Halani. And Malzahn's, I think for Central Florida, he's a very good coach. I think for Auburn, he maybe wasn't as good of a coach because that's just a bigger program, but I like him there. I think they're a competitive team. I thought that was a pretty smart hire. And I've bet on, I think I've won on them once or twice earlier this year, so I'm comfortable with this one. This is just again, straight system play. It has nothing to do with me feeling that one of the defensive lines is better than the other or anything like that. So,
yeah, look, for me, I think most know I'm a big Arkansas fan, and KJ Jefferson was here last year. Went down to UCF, now playing for Malzahn. His play's really inconsistent. I don't trust him playing, but there's no way UCF should be a favorite in this game, and they are. And I think that's why the money's coming in on BYU. So this is one of those stinky lines that you have to bet UCF just based on principle for no other reason, because anybody who knows these teams should be betting BYU. And that's why I would go the opposite on that. So I really don't have any I don't have any other thoughts on that. I think somebody said that KJ Jefferson isn't starting. So, well, maybe that's a positive then. So I've kind of not really followed them as close as I should. Thanks for weighing on that.
I heard he got benched a couple games ago. I just didn't know if he was back anyway. But. Yeah.
That sounds about right. But again, the line is what it is. UCF shouldn't be favored, but they are. So I would take UCF.
Yeah, I think that's probably a positive if KJ is not playing. Man, it's been, since we've been doing this, Uncle Phil, it feels like watching him play for Arkansas, there's been a lot of times where you're just like, man, he's not very good. But we'll take one more question here. We got Willie the OG from Twitter. He says, Michigan versus Michigan State. It's the biggest rivalry game on the slate today. Where do you guys stand?
Smooth Andy?
Just a lean on Michigan. That's it. Just one lean. It didn't pop up much, but it wasn't like I ended up with 2 on one side and 3 on the other, and it came out to 1 net. It was just 1 on Michigan, and that's it. So just didn't really quite make my radar.
I'd just probably take the other side on it myself. I see it kind of the other way just because I just don't trust Michigan. I think they're a very average team this year, and I think they're subject to getting beat just about any week. So I probably go the other way.
Alrighty, guys. I think that's pretty good as far as questions goes. We've got to a lot of them. To everyone that still has questions, I wish we could get there, but we're getting close to kickoff. Appreciate you guys. Uncle Phil, Smooth End, any final party thoughts?
Yeah. Any final thoughts for you, Smooth Andy, or then tell everybody to go to Twitter, check out your 14 picks today?
Yeah, well, if I don't pass out from carpal tunnel while I'm typing them up, they'll be waiting for you. Yep. Yeah,
absolutely. Hey, guys, thanks for tuning in. I really like the lines this week. Or I wouldn't say love like I did last week's pro lines, but I like them certainly better than I did last week's college lines, and excited about the Saturday. Thanks for tuning in. I know you had options to spend your Saturday. Thanks for spending it with us this morning. For Matt, who hosts the show, for Smooth Andy, the football quant, for me, I'm Uncle Phil, guys. Really appreciate you tuning in. Let's have a day, guys, and always, let's roll.
stripe.